Welcome to another Wednesday night meeting. This is meeting number 4 for football officials. So welcome. I'm glad you're here. As many of you probably received your attendance logs this week. Again, if I mess it up, feel free to just send me an email. Hey, I'm missing this credit I was on. I'll just double check, verify, and we'll give you credit. Future vets, I have not logged your future vet meeting. So if you have been to a future vet meeting, I haven't done that. I'm going to work with the future vet leadership on a way that I can start adding those into the log so that you're not getting a message that says you haven't attended any meetings. So if you are a future vet on this meeting, you will, I'll work with the future vet leadership to start somehow logging those as well. But with that, I'll pass it on to Dana.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to football meetings. As Nate said, this is meeting number 4. And we want to thank our speakers for tonight who will be presenting on the topic of pregame. Tonight, our presentation group is from the Northwest region. It's Kelsey Lizer, Jovi Sabal from Gallup, and Donovan, I'm going to try your name, Donovan Shishlachi. Did I get it right? From Gallup as well. I've been practicing that because I've probably murdered it many times. So again, they'll be presenting on pregame, as is the case over all of these meetings. If you've got questions during the course of the presentation, feel free to enter those into the chat, providing that they're relative to or relevant to the presentation at hand. If you've got any questions that are off topic, feel free to ask those at the end. Nate and I always stay on for a few minutes afterward just to field any of those questions. So, all right, Donovan said, good job. That means I did not slaughter his name this time. So I feel proud. I got 1 gold star today, which is more than I had going into this meeting. So I'll go ahead and turn it over at this time to Kelsey, Jovi, and Donovan. And we look forward to your presentation.
Hello, Dana, this is Jovi. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, awesome.
Hey, Dana, it's Kelsey. Can you hear me?
We can.
Yes,
Awesome.
yes.
This is Donovan. So can you hear me?
Hi, Donovan.
Whose PowerPoint am I pulling up first?
It'll be mine.
Oh, okay, Kelsey, I got you.
I like how you asked if I could hear you, and then I muted myself so you couldn't hear my answer. Whoops.
Alrighty, good evening, officials. Again, my name's Kelsey Lizer. I am the group leader for the Farmington area. So this is my first crack at a big meeting. Kind of nervous, so just bear with me. Topic that we chose was our pregame, which I think is an important tool that we have in officiating to prepare ourselves for any contest and at any sport and at any level. And so, Nate, you can go to the next screen, please. Again, our pregame is as important as any other phase of football officiating. It's a good communication line between us as officials and even to the schools, as far as making sure the date, location, nothing's changed, you know, where we're meeting at, what time we need to be there and stuff like that. So it also helps in crew preparation, but it's not the only preparation needed. And Jovi will get more into that in his presentation. And every game is not the same every week. For those of us that have been doing this for many years, we all know that one Friday night's game is not the same as the last Friday night's game or 2 weeks prior. So it's always different, and we could always learn from something from each game at any level for that matter. And those are always good group discussions and crew discussions to bring any scenarios to our game and stuff like that. As well as a pregame, again, Joby will get into the mechanics, the rules, the philosophies, and other important information that can go into a pregame. Up here in the Northwest Farmington group, we were fortunate to last season to have set crews. So I think we had like 4 or 5 set crews. And so we were able to do pre-games a little different and early. We did our pre-games pretty early for most of our crews that had that set. So it did help us out a lot. And we did learn a lot going over game film, going over our previous game situations that we had, and coming together on our Monday weekly meetings and bringing stuff to the table for a group discussion to make sure we're all on the same page as well. You can go to the next slide, Nate. When to start your pregame. Again, for us up here in Farmington, again, with the set crews, we were able to have our pregame. Most crews had them on a Saturday, the day after our varsity game. So we were already prepared for next Friday's game. We already had our game assignment. So we actually started the Saturday after our Friday varsity game, or the night's prior game. And some crews were different. They had it on a Sunday, or they started Monday, Zoom meetings or emails or text messages or phone calls, or even they were even meeting at different officials' house to go over stuff. So again, Jovi will get into that in more detail. And then not everyone has the same experience or ability, but the pregame conference should help put everyone on the same page. And yeah, that really helped us out a lot, because there are times when we didn't have that same person as like a wing official. We had to bring in somebody else. But preparing during the week for our pregame, it helped all of us out, and we were able to have a lot of nonverbal communication with our signals. And another thing that helped us out too was our O2O radios. And so that did help us out a lot. The pregame conference is not the place for confusion and indifference. The leader of the pregame conference is not the only participant. And I'm sure everybody that has been doing this for a while knows that, we give out assignments. Not every association is the same. Everyone does theirs a little different. And if it's working for you, don't change it. Keep it going. In our group, everyone had an assignment, whether it's looking at game film, seeing what kind of offense they run, what kind of defense, looking at the sidelines. Do we have coaches who like to get on the field a lot? We're looking for those disruptors, what we call disruptors. Is there any, and stuff like that. So everyone had their own little duty to do for the week, and again, bring it to the table like on a Wednesday evening, and I'll talk about it. And then come Friday, we're ready to rock and roll. Next one is the focus, concentration, and communication are essential during the game and during the pregame conference. And this does go a long ways, I believe. And it helped me out this past season. I was fortunate to do the 5A game, and just a good pregame from Jovi, who was our crew chief from that game. Again, the pregame line out that he sent us, was sent out to us, and we were focused in the concentration where we needed to be, in the communication between all 5 of us, and even with our alternate official too. And that did help us out a lot in that game. Football officiating is 75% preparation and 25% adjustment. And lousy pregame results in lousy football officiating. And I'm a firm believer of that. Beginning of my season, or beginning of my officiating career in football, we would have some lousy pregames, and man, it made us look cheap on the field. We look funny out there. But the more years I got in, I realized how important a good pregame is, not only to me, but to make the crew look better, not only us, our region, and not only that, but the state as a whole. So that's all I got for my presentation. And if you guys have any questions, you're more than welcome to email me. It's just lizer233 at Yahoo, or you can go into Arbiter and look up my information, my phone number and email. Jovi, I give it to you.
Thank you, Kelsey. Nate, can you put my slides up, please? Just want to continue from what Kelsey left off, but I want to back up a little bit here. Just, this is, as officials, the things we need to be doing, okay? One thing I like to do, and again, a lot of this stuff I learned from my predecessors, okay? These could be group leaders or, camp instructors, mentors that I've found along the way. And I found my senior officials have been very, very helpful with a lot of mentoring. But I want to summarize, what you did in the past season. Could have been you made the quarters for the first time, your first playoff assignment. You could have gotten to the semifinals or final. If you didn't qualify, make it a goal, set yourself a goal so that you have something to attain. Keeping up with fitness, okay, that's an easy one. It's just it's up to us to stay in the best shape that we can. Keep in mind the kids are still 15 to 17, and we are getting a year older. So do what you can to stay in shape. Whatever you do, running, resistance training, whatever you feel like. If you work other sports, I know we have the other sport, which is a round ball and a lot of running. So that's a good one to do. Or if you like, baseball, softball, just remember, any and all game situations can help you. Okay. Well, I like going to camps, going to, workshops and lectures. You can really, really learn a lot, especially when you can go to a camp that gets you on the field instruction. With some lectures to go between there. I like to go to the camp in Albuquerque, Ken Murphy's camp. It's very, very informative. I've also gone to the one in Cruces, and I've even gone to Utah, Nevada, and Texas for some trainings as well. So it's it's really, really, really helpful as you go along. I waited till my 10th year to go to my first camp. That's too late. For you younger officials, please consider attending those camps, within your first 2 years. It'll really help you and really, really get good habits and good learning. If you can, volunteer for scrimmages or whatever you can. I know in the summertime, there's 7-on-7s, and it's not quite the same as, tackle football, but, it gets you in, again, game situations. It's important that we really learn our rules, especially right now. We've been watching college and NFL. We got to remember that our high school game and our rule book is not quite the same as the ones that they have on TV. So, the off season is a good time to learn. That's a pretty thick rule book. I don't recommend reading the whole thing in one night. It's quite a bit of information, but this is something you can definitely do to improve yourself. Next slide, please, Nate. Yeah, during the season, you want to, improve your communication skills, verbal and nonverbal. Okay, talking to your fellow officials, talking to coaches, answering their questions, things like that. I like to talk to our assigner on a regular basis. One thing I do want to mention, okay, when your assigner gives you a call, okay, this could be the golden opportunity. Get back to them as soon as you can, because if you don't get to, and there's all kinds of reasons for not being able to get back. Work, school, digging out wisdom teeth, which would be my case. But anyway, the sooner you get back with your official, the more serious he can take you. And if I can't get back with my assigner and another official does, my assigner is probably going to call that other official when there's an opportunity, before you'd call me. So again, just, respect your assigner. We got our weekly meetings that we can attend. They're always good information. I know that, we like to go over some questions, game situations. And that's the time where we can watch the videos. I know it's kind of hard to get some videos sometimes, but it never hurts to ask the coaches. Okay, ask them to add you as another coach or as a recruiter. And he might ask you why, and says, "Well, you know what? I think we're missing some calls. I think that we can improve our officiating. I'd like to see the film. Because if the coach is complaining about a holding call that you didn't do or a pass interference that you didn't call, you'd like to see it yourself and possibly learn from it. Evaluate yourself. If you can get that video, that's going to be really, really helpful. But look at yourself. Okay, did you dress well? Okay, did you look good in the uniform that day? Were you, did you have your hat on straight? Stuff like that. I needed to, things like that. Again, it doesn't hurt to review your rules. Okay. I had a game last year where we had a field goal attempt that went through the end zone and missed. And I was, of course it's a touchback in high school, but one of my partners was insisting, well, don't you put it don't they get the ball where the ball was kicked from? And I kind of had to explain to him a little bit that again, our rules were a little bit different than what we saw on TV, and we learned from it. But again, things like that, especially when you have a newer official, always keep in mind that you might have to work with them a little bit more, and help your other officials. I mentioned the new guy. They're new. They think football is what they see on TV, and it's not quite the same as we have. So especially our rules, just like the one I just mentioned. Also, you have that veteran who's been calling for 20 years, but he's been out of the game for a while, and probably hasn't been to a state clinic or any kind of training. He probably needs to, review the rules a little bit too. So, the older official can also be helped. Next slide, please, Nate. Okay, what we like to do, and you need to do what works for your specific region. Okay, if what we say here doesn't work for you, then you got to do whatever's different. Okay, Monday, you want to hopefully you'll have your crew all together and who's going to go, so you can contact the schools and get them necessary information. Most schools nowadays have the arbiter pay, so it's all there already for them. But some schools still pay you the old-fashioned way with a paper check. So if they want a W-9, maybe want to get that in, just, call the athletic director, get the meeting time that you want to arrive at this, a good time to arrive, like, 5 o'clock is a good meeting time, but, if you want to meet 5:30, again, you do what's, works for you. We all have school, work, and families that we have to attend to. So, do what works for you. You can meet earlier. Okay. Again, Kelsey was saying that you could start a pregame on Saturday, the day after your Friday night game. That might not work for everybody. Okay. Because of the reasons I just mentioned, but, if you can talk to your crew, let's say on a Wednesday or Thursday, it'd be great to, discuss some game situations, to, discuss a rule that you might not know, that you might want a little bit more clarification on. If you have film, you could, go over that as well. It's really a good time to meet beforehand. This way it can save you time on the actual day of the game when you do pregame. Like I said, if we can get to the stadium by 5 o'clock, and again, it's going to depend. And if you have a veteran crew that, you've pre-gamed a million times and you've worked with, many, many times already, maybe you don't need to be there by 5, maybe 5:30. I think that's, recommended at the latest. But again, everybody's a little bit different. When you get there, make that last call. If you had a long road trip, make that last call to the family, let them know that you arrived safely, and then, turn it off. Okay. I mean, you shouldn't have to, have your phone on, when you're taking these games, if you do need it because of work or other extenuating circumstances, maybe consider not taking the game. I know we're short in some areas, like I know we are in mine. So, you know, we kind of got to, you know, evaluate each situation a little bit differently. Yeah, if you want to, you can all get dressed and then you can, you know, start your pregame discussion. Again, if you had met earlier in the week to talk about some things, you know, maybe you don't need, you know, as much time, but, you know, you want to probably start your pregame 6 o'clock at the latest. And if you got a, you know, newer crew member, you know, you can probably start a little bit earlier than that. You know, it's really up to you. But, you know, I like to be at the stadium by 5 o'clock. Next slide, please, Nate. Yeah, I just want to show you a couple new toys here that we got. This Fox 40 whistle here. It's I got this one on Amazon. It is pretty loud. I'm at the office, so I don't want to press the button here, but it is pretty loud. You know, work it. You know, try it and, you know, see if it works for you. Next slide, please, Nate. One thing you can consider, again, as part of your pregame, you know, if you want to, you know, use these O2Os. You know, last year was the first time I ever used this. This is the one I got from the Midland site. If you need the website where to order these things, I can get them to you. Of course, I don't have the headset that you're going to need to go with this, but this is great communication. I mean, this is great for communication, I should say. You know, the wings don't have to, you know, scream at each other for information. You know, the R doesn't have to yell at the back judge to reset the clock when he's able, you know, when it's necessary, stuff like that. So, you know, really consider using these O2Os. It's very, very helpful with communication. One more slide, Nate. Lastly, okay, everybody knows by now we are required to wear the masks. I did buy the Under Armour one that Nate showed a couple of weeks back. It is a little bit pricier, okay? It's $30, and I was very lucky to find it at the Under Armour outlet. So I was able to get 2 for $30, but it's a pretty thick mask, okay? It's pretty big. You got plenty of room, you know, if you want to put the whistle underneath. Like I said, you know, try both. You know, try it's like electronic whistle. You know, try the one with the mask, okay? And if you don't want to pay $30 for a mask, I don't blame you. You can buy these other black masks. I believe the masks have to be all black. You can buy this one too. You can get a box of these on Amazon for what, $10, $11. I think Kelsey and Donovan might have a little bit more information from me than that. But anyway, thank you for listening. I hope I provided some good information. I want to turn it over to Donovan now.
All right, good evening, everybody. My name is Donovan Sheslachy, okay? I believe I'm a 6-year official. Just, you know, been doing a couple of other sports many years too. They asked me to do a pregame situation, pregame when we're actually at our game site. And we're gonna go over a few things. And, you know, before I get started, right now I'm gonna be doing a white hat as my 3rd year. And it's a very learning process, but I'm always willing to learn, and it's always fun to hear our veterans talk. Jovi's been a mentor of mine, Kelsey's been a mentor of mine, and so has Leonard Longhorn have been a mentor of mine, and they're great people to learn from. And your reason and association, it's always great to hear. I give up props to Mr. Velasquez out there in Musculero, because he's always willing to help me. And you know, you find people out there. So I'm going to go ahead and begin here. Go ahead and change. And I'm pretty much going to just break down of how we approach it when we're at the game. So during game, as Jovi said, you know, we try to show up 2 hours early, but majority of the time, you know, everybody has get off work, you know, and take care of business. And so we're usually there about between 2 hours to an hour and a half. Okay. So I'm just going to go over some pregame stuff for our crew members' responsibility. And we'll talk some about the referee, the umpire, the head linesman, the line judge, and the back judge. And if any time that you guys want to chat, make a question or advice, I would appreciate that, as I am learning. So go ahead and change that, Nate. Next slide, Nate. And can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So I'm just going to go over some brief stuff. You know, you want to talk about it because usually, you know, we talk about the referee and then, you know, the referee. And usually what happens in our group, we give certain responsibilities for our crew member. All right. So, you know, who's going to be, you know, to give some examples, for example, our running keys, passing keys, and our kick keys. So we kind of signed those on Monday in our group here in Gallup. So our crew group can be prepared to answer those questions. So here for the referee, it's just brief, you know, it's just a coin toss at the beginning of the game, all his responsibility that he needs. And I'm going to get here to the penalty enforcements because that's important as our official, as a crew chief. We just got to make sure that we use proper mechanics when we're assessing a penalty. And then our proper enforcement, whether it's a live ball, dead ball fouls, correct penalty assessment, you know, where we're going to assess the ball, whether it's going to be a spot foul, okay, basic spot, etc. And we'll come back and usually the keys, as I began learning, okay, I had to really study the keys. Okay, I pretty much was I was a wing. I did majority of the back judge last year in the season, but on some other parts, I did do. I was an R for the lower class schools, so I have to really know my keys and areas for all the positions. The only one part I didn't learn too much was about the umpire. So anybody have any questions on here or anybody would like to add to this in their pregame for the referee?
Is there any chance of getting you closer to your microphone? It's hard to hear you.
Oh, okay, because I have a mic right on my shirt. So who is this? Are you the one that's having a hard time hearing Jovi too?
No, I can hear everybody else.
Oh, okay.
Shane, hit where your mute button is. There's an arrow. If you hit that arrow, hit your audio settings, and then you can turn up your output volume if anyone's having trouble hearing.
Okay, hold on just a second.
No, I'm sorry. And for you, Donovan, if you go to that same arrow on the mute,
yes.
Go to audio settings, and then your input level, your microphone level, you can raise that as well.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Nate. Did the job.
Awesome.
Can you hear me now? A lot better?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. Then. Okay, thank you. So if anybody doesn't have any questions, let's go to the next one. Next slide, please, Nate. Here we have the umpire. Okay, so part of their responsibility would be counting the offensive players. Okay, especially with the penalty enforcers, because the umpire is going to be marking off the ball, whether it's the spot ball, okay, the basic spot. All right, and then another important thing is ball mechanics. All right, and really he's going to be the communicator for pretty much the whole crew, because he's the one that's handling the ball, whether to get ready for play, whether to back up and get in position in his area. So he's very important because he's going to be looking at both the line judge and the head linesman on both sides. If it's on the linesman side, he's going to be looking over there to spot the ball. And if he's on the head lineman side, he's going to be there to spot the ball also. Okay, so he's a main important communicator for the crew. And again, I'm just going over a few stuff, and then he's going to have his keys for the running and passing and kick plays too. Anything, any other questions or anybody want to add to this? All right, Nate, let's turn to the next slide. Okay, so the headline's responsibility, okay, before the game, you know, we're going to talk about a few things again. So his part of his responsibility before the game, he's going to be communicating with his chain crew. Okay, so he's going to make sure he's got people. He's going to be marking the box. Who's got the line to gain chain? Whether some have 3, some have 4, some's got ones at the box, two at the line to gain, and then one for placing your excuse me,
Chain clip.
Key clip, yeah, the clip at the nearest 5-yard line. Thank you. I'm just a little nervous too here for myself. So, he'll communicate them before the game and make sure they got set. And usually in our area, our higher class area, our 4A teams here in Gallup, we're fortunate that we got crews there that have been there forever. So they know what to do and they've already heard us all talk. All right, and again, we're going to go over the keys. Some keys for the head linesman, the running pass, free kick, scrimmage kick, and field goal kicks. And if you notice, I kind of elaborated more on the keys here on the free kicks, scrimmage kicks, and field goal kicks because they have certain responsibility, certain place areas that they need to be at. So those are important. And again, we always discuss this during our pregame in the locker room. And you know what? I made a mistake here. The head linesman does not count the defensive player. That's going to be the line judge. So disregard that little bullet there. And goal line. Goal line's always important for our wing official, okay? And we always ask him, when do you got the money line? So we're looking at the money line from anything from 20 yards in, okay? And then if we're set up, if we got a third and goal, we've got to be making sure that our wings crash in to get a spot, all right? And then also our penalty enforcements, they play an important part. The linesman will be looking at the umpire as they assess the penalty, and he'll be walking off the penalty yardage with the umpire. Okay, and they also responsible for the line to gain. So if we got a first down, he's going to be moving that chain, making sure they get set. All right, Nate, go ahead and move along. Okay, the line judge. And usually here, they're going to be, for the downs, okay, they're going to be looking across. Obviously, everybody's going to be communicating what downs it's going to be, but they're going to know if we got a line to gain or first down. He's going to be coming across, pointing, we got a first down when it was maybe a 3rd and 5. So he's going to be a communication with the head linesman at all times and making sure that they communicate with one another. Again, we have our keys. We have the running, passing, free kicks, scrimmage kicks, and field goals. Again, both wings share certain responsibility during the 3 kicks. And again, we have the goal line. We have the money line. Same thing with the head linesman. Anything 20 yards to the goal line, they got the money line. All right. And again, with the penalty enforcement, what is their position? They're going to be standing where the flag is while it's being enforced. Again, we have a line to gain measurement, their position. All right. So everybody has when we get a first down or a close measurement, everybody has a certain responsibility of where to be at. So if we do have a close measurement call, all right, we have the head linesman is going to be taking his clip, bringing it in, and then we're going to have his crew bringing everything in, and then the line judge position would be in back to make sure it's parallel to the line or the nearest 5-yard line. Okay, and we got the back judge putting the ball down, and then we got the umpire getting ready to pull the chain if everything's set, and obviously we're going to have the referee indicate whether it's short or first down.
Go
ahead.
A couple questions. I think Philip Otero, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, I have a question. If there's a discrepancy on where to spot the ball, like if both the line judge and the heads linesman come in and they're off, or they're not equal, what happens in that situation?
In our case, I would say, like, say, if the ball is closest to the lineman side, that's supposed to be his call, versus a line judge coming. I mean, his linesman's coming from the other side, marking the ball a different spot. So I've worked both positions, and what I usually do is I give it up to the wherever the ball side of whatever wings. But if I know definitely there's a discrepancy, I would congregate together, talk with one another, and get a decision. Ask, where did his land? Like, say, for example, you watching where his knee went down, where the ball went down. Yes, there's certain situations that we can have discrepancy because it's their call. It's going to be their call. Referee's not going to call it because he's in the back. Back judge's not going to call it. Umpire might have a little thing, but he should be watching everything else that's around. But I would leave it up to both line judges to discuss where the ball lies. That answer your question?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
So Donovan, we've got a few comments and a couple. Do you want to continue and then we can get back to those, or do you want to address those now?
No, let's address it because
Yep. So a couple comments. You should distance umpire, also authority on equipment. Tell chain to drop them if plays coming at them, especially at sub-varsity games. Counting on defense on line judge. Both wings also responsible for plays inside the 5 going out. They have to rule on safeties in certain situations. And of course, pregame, both should mirror each other. And then Eric Chadwick, you have your hand raised. Eric, you good?
That was not on purpose.
Okay, not a worry. I'll lower your hand. All right.
And he's not a cat.
All right, Donovan, you're up.
You know what, guys? Thank you. I did not forget those, okay? I did not forget those. I was just trying to keep this nice and short outline. But yeah, you guys are all correct. Whoever made those comments, you are correct. And we always usually, it's hard to, for example, like Jovi said earlier and Kelsey said earlier, when you have a set crew, you've been doing it with them a long time, and you're right. I should have elaborated more on those situations, especially for our beginners and upcoming officials. So I was just trying to keep this short, but thank you for the comments. Any other questions? Okay, the back judge. Part of his responsibility that we know that they're going to be one taking the game card up, okay, scorecard or game card, and they're going to be going up to the press box side. They're going to be talking with the clock operator. Just right here, real quick. I was just keeping this short, like I said. Now that we have the 40 and a 25-second play clock, I always indicate to the clock, you're going to be seeing me. Just keep the game going unless we signal to stop or running the clock. I always make sure that I tell these clock operators that this is just keep it going unless you see one of the officials on the field killing the clock. And how do you know? We got our hand signals going. Boom. And when to start running the clock is going to be coming straight from the referee looking at the R. So that would be one of the responsibilities before the game. And again, there's keys, the running, passing, free kick, scrimmage kick, field goal kicks. All right. And then on the goal line responsibility for the back judge, again, if it's everything outside the 20, he's going to have the goal line. Then anything inside the 20 to the goal line, his responsibility is going to be in the back of the field goal. I mean, the back of the end zone. That's going to be his responsibility, just hanging out there. Then again, his penalty enforcement position would be standing where the nearest. Okay, he would be standing near the the flag unless he threw the flag himself. So usually I'm always, if anybody, besides me not throwing the whistle, if I was a back judge, I would be standing next to the flag while everybody has the responsibility of enforcing the penalty. And again, line to measurement gain. Here's another one again, like I told you, that everybody has a certain responsibility. So if we have a measurement again, his first thing is go to the ball, hold it in place while everybody gets set for the measurement. Any more questions? Anything else?
There's nothing in the chat.
Okay. So, thank you.
Donovan, good job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Donovan, Kelsey, and Jovi. Does anybody have any questions for the presenters this evening? If so, you could go ahead and just unmute and ask rather than putting them in the chat.
Real quick, I personally want to thank the three of you. I think it's really cool to see that how much preparation you all put into your pregame prior to the game, starting a week before. You know, that's mind blowing, and I think it's something that is necessary. But I don't think we do a very good job as officials in any sport, really, of really having thorough pregames. And I think that that's just a reflection of where you are going as a region. And I hope that the rest of the regions have learned something from this as far as pregames, because it's definitely an amazing thing. And you know, I know that, you know, and don't get me wrong, every crew is doing a good job of a pregame, but it's cool. I really like it. You guys did a great job.
Thanks, Nate.
Absolutely. And I do want to say the game that Jovi and Kelsey and the crew called last year at Los Lunas for the 5A state championship was a prime example of their pregame, because I know the night before they had gotten a hotel room and got one of the conference rooms at the hotel so that they could continue their pregame the night before. So it's something that I know they do, you know, they do a lot of work on pregaming for their contests, and it certainly is to be commended. So guys, thanks for the presentation, and we appreciate your effort and everything that you're doing to, you know, to make sure that that's a part of your game, because it does translate onto a well-called game on the field. So thank you for that. A lot of commendations there in the chat. Does anybody have any questions for the presenters before we just kind of open it up? Must be a sign of a good presentation when no one has questions.
So I did have a few questions, and just a reminder, if you don't receive credit and you are on for less than 30 minutes, that's why you didn't receive the credit. And so if you have questions, why, you know, hey, I was on the meeting, chances are I'll shoot you an email that says, hey, you're only on for 28 minutes. And that's kind of the standard that Dana and I have, you know, agreed to. I mean, 30 minutes of a 60-minute meeting isn't too bad. So remember, if you didn't receive credit, that's probably why.
And continue to remind your officiating colleagues that in order to get the link and the password, they have to register. As the meeting started, my phone's still blowing up with people asking for the password and why didn't I send them the password? Last week, I had sent a clarification about how to get into meetings, and I'm still getting questions about it. I told Steve Wagner last week that I probably should have done illustrations, because I know football officials like the simplified and illustrated. So I was going to see if I could figure out how to draw some diagrams, but I'm not that talented or artistic. So just make sure you pass that on to your group members should they complain to you or have questions about where they get the login information. So it looks like there was just a question, a word on allowing fans into games for any sports at this time. No. We're still waiting. We do have our football district clinic next week. I believe it's next Wednesday without looking at the calendar. we'll have answers to a lot of the questions, the common questions that we've been having about COVID-related protocol at that time. If after that meeting, officials are still unclear on what they're supposed to be doing, we'll do a Q&A with Sally where she can actually field those questions directly. So be on the lookout for that. Make sure you're on the district clinic next week. Will the cold weather hood suffice for a mask? No, they will not. You'll have to wear a mask with the cold weather hood.
So real quick, just so to give you guys a heads up, our volleyball district clinic lasted 3 hours. I absolutely know that you all do not want to be on a 3-hour meeting. And so we will be on with coaches and you all. So I'm just hoping that the officials set the great example and don't ask the what if questions, because the what if questions we don't have answers to, and they're not going to have answers to. And you know, since we have a little bit of time, I had a conversation with an official actually, and then thanks to the official who is on here, because it just reminded me to remind officials, look, when it comes to COVID protocols and everything else, Dana's going to be sending you a ton of information. Sally's going to be sending out a ton of information, and Dusty. And ultimately, at the end of the day, it's going to change the next week. What you can do, if you're worried about locker rooms and you're worried about travel and do what's best for yourself. Wear your mask, social distance, keep yourself safe. If you don't feel comfortable doing certain things, if you don't feel like pre-gaming with your crew because you're in a confined space, then let your crew know that you want to FaceTime or do something that, but when it comes to protocols, you don't really have to wait for us to answer all your what if questions. Just keep yourself safe. And once you keep yourself safe, the rest falls in place. I know that in the other sport that I officiate, I'm getting protocol changes every single day and every other day. And I'm telling you, I don't read them because I know what I need to do to keep myself safe. And I go, and if the crew chief or somebody else on the crew doesn't feel comfortable, then I go with the flow. But really, ultimately, it's just be flexible and go with the flow and protect yourself ultimately.
And in a conversation I had with Sally this morning, a lot of the reason why we've held off on giving a lot of detail relative to COVID protocol is because we didn't want to send everything to you and then have to change it 6 times, because that way you'd be totally confused and go, wait a second, they told us this. Well, no, that was 17 versions ago of the competition guidelines. So we're trying to wait until it's as close to the start of the season as possible so that you have accurate information. As you all know, we were trying to get 3 of our sports started in October, and those ended up, getting postponed. And we already had competition guidelines, which have since been revised. So we're really trying to keep the information current for you. Oh, thank you. So there's a comment, read the emails that are sent out. 99% of the questions have been answered. Thank you, Wayne, for reading emails. They do a great job of communicating information. When does the season start? Tentatively, the first date of practice is February 22nd, with games starting, I believe it's March 6th, that weekend, whenever that is, first weekend in March. And of course, what's happening is schools have until February 15th to declare whether or not they're participating. However, they can trickle in after that February 15th deadline. So if something happens to where schools change to hybrid learning, which is part of the guidelines for the governor for schools to be able to play sports, they can come in a little bit late. So you may see some schedule changes. We've talked to our varsity regional assigners and just notified them to not assign for the full year, because there's going to be changes to that schedule. What's going to happen, I'm sure, is Mr. Ruiz, you have your child again, and I got distracted. You know me, put a kid in front of me and I can't speak because they're adorable, but thank you for that. It made my day. But, there's going to be teams that end up having COVID cases, and then they're going to end up canceling. So there's going to be a lot of changes to that schedule. So as we've been saying since, I don't know, May of last year. Be flexible, be light on your feet, and just expect changes. And we'll do the best that we can to keep everybody informed. There may be days where you're getting ready to go to, you're getting ready to go to a game and we contact you and say, hey, just heard that so-and-so has COVID cases and they're shutting down. So we will be contacting you via email, phone, text. We might shoot up flares. I don't know. We'll get a hold of you the best we can just to make sure that you're on target and you're not traveling to games that aren't going to be there. So there's a couple of more comments. You're right, puppies and babies. Let's see, is C and JV going to play? Yes, they are, maybe. So that's going to be up to the school districts. The first schedule they'll roll out will be varsity because our office is taking a role in that schedule process, but JV and C will be up to the schools if they're going to play. Some just won't have enough kids because of opt-outs and all of that. Joseph, great point.
Will you have actually, Dana, will you have him on mute? I'd like to actually hear from Joseph on kind of his preparation on this.
Joseph, unmute, share your thoughts.
Yeah.
Well, just what I shared right there in the comment, right, is there are a lot of distractions right now and COVID's on everyone's mind. And so the pre-games is a really great opportunity to talk football, talk specifics, and get everyone thinking about the game and not all the distractions.
I appreciate that, Joseph. Joseph, you might, or Dana, you want to introduce Joseph for some of the new officials that may not know who Joseph is?
Sure. Joseph, even though if you look at that picture, you would think that he is a high school student. Joseph is actually a Division I football official. He was an NMOA official for relatively short time, but he's been around football officiating forever. His dad is Colin Martinez, who's an Albuquerque football official. So Joseph, I've seen him probably from the time he was 8 years old until now, and he's in the Mountain West. And Joseph, please correct me if I'm wrong. He's given back to us. He continues to give back at our clinics and at the Ken Murphy camp. So Joseph is a great resource as officials. If you have any aspirations of moving up to the next level, or if maybe you just want his perspective, he's always willing to field those questions. So don't hesitate to reach out to him, and I'll make sure that if you want to contact him, I'll get you his information. Sorry, Joseph, I just volunteered you, but I do that. So, and let's see, let me go back through. Colin, I'll get right back to you. So what will be the situation about chain crews? I don't know that yet. That'll be something that we'll discuss at the district clinic. Are there any travel restrictions regarding how far schools can go? So we did have an athletic directors meeting this morning, and Sally has encouraged the schools or directed the schools to schedule within their kind of region of the state. So not necessarily the regions that we're used to, but to minimize travel. She did suggest that if there's schools that are kind of far apart, but there might be a neutral site where they can play, where the travel wouldn't be too much, they can do that. But there wasn't an actual mileage number. It was just kind of, we just don't want teams traveling and staying the night and all of that. So it'll be relatively close, playing your neighbor teams basically. And then a question for Joseph: how did your crew pregame during COVID?
All of our pre-games were done via Zoom, either the night before or 2 nights before the game. It was different. One thing that was kind of good about that is we were able to pull up more film. So it made for a little more in-depth conversations, but everything was done in Zoom. And then another thing that was different this year was we went dressed to the stadium. So typically we would, change at the stadium and change afterwards. But everything this year was a little bit differently. So pre-games were all done in Zoom the night before. Go dressed to the stadium, and pretty much you're right out to the field.
And we'll get more information on that. Thank you, Joseph. As far as if officials will be able to change at locations or not, they did open up the ability of locker rooms, but not showers. So we'll let you know if it'll be something where you all need to go dressed to games or not. There's a question, will crews still ride together? I'm waiting on an answer for that. When we were originally going to start in October, the answer was that they would not travel together, and then one mileage would be split among the drivers, but I don't know if that's changed. I know in the soccer meeting we had on Monday night, there were a lot of questions about, well, what if everybody on the crew is vaccinated and they're okay with riding together? So there's some logistics that still need to be worked out with that, and hopefully we'll be able to give you that information next week at the district clinic. Any other questions, either for the presenters or for Nate and myself?
Yeah, there's a private message that just came through, and it says, you know, the White Hat could potentially poll each member prior to the game as to their riding preferences and pre-game preferences.
Which is a great idea. You know, football is going to be a little bit different because of the, you know, the crews, as opposed to, you know, wrestling where there's 12 officials at a tournament or whatever. So that's definitely something that as a White Hat would be a good idea to check with your crew. Even though, you know, in a lot of areas we aren't assigned in crews, it would be good for the White Hat for whichever games. It is going to be a short season, obviously. It's about, I believe they've agreed on 4 weeks of regular season and then a week of postseason, but that's still kind of up in the air. So I think at this point, everybody just wants kids to play and they want some football, and, you know, let's rock and roll. So we're just in waiting mode now. Let's get the train on the tracks and start rolling. Anything else, football officials?
Dana, this is Joby.
Hey.
Real quickly, are we, okay, when the teams start being able to practice as teams, are officials able to get together to have local group meetings again as a full group?
For this year, we don't really know. Obviously, we're going to continue to have these meetings for the full year for all sports. I would imagine that it will depend on the social distancing. I know in the AD's meeting today, she talked about how even when there's practices, there still will be some social distancing that is observed. So as soon as I have that answer, I'll provide it for you. Hopefully we'll have that for the district clinic as well. I know one of the other questions was if officials could use team practices for the purposes of getting some preseason reps, and we're waiting on an answer for that. Since there's no scrimmages this year, you know, we have brand new officials who probably might want to get on the field. So we're working to see if that would be a possibility for local groups to arrange for some training at team practices in their area.
Yep. And just so you know, if you're a group leader on this call, if you do have rule study meetings or anything like that, keep a tally of who attended. And at the end of the season, I'll ask for any extra credit meeting attendance stuff, and we'll give officials credit for that as well.
And Nate, I'll defer to you for the question about rule books. Those have been mailed, haven't they?
Yep, and they were all delivered to, in the Southwest chain, they were all delivered to Mike Rundell, who was able to get them distributed out to the groups. Leonard, do you have Shane's books?
I just sent Shane a message that I had his books.
Okay, perfect. Perfect.
I'll get them to him somehow tomorrow. If he's leaving, I'll see if I can get with him or something.
Great. Thanks, Leonard.
Steven Rosas, you have your hand up?
Hey, Dana, quick question. I know because we're starting RMAC softball and they're requiring us to fill out forms, taking our temperature. We'll have our temperature taken at the stadium before we even go into locker rooms. Is that something the NMOA is looking at?
In October, the answer was yes. I don't know what the answer is right now. So initially it was that the schools would actually, the host school would be who did temperature checks of officials, but I have not heard what the latest ruling is on that. So I will make sure that that's covered either at the district clinic or in a subsequent Q&A.
Okay, right. Yeah, and they've also left it up to the schools whether they wanted us tested or not too.
The testing has not come up, so we have not had anybody say that coaches, players, or officials are subject to testing. but they are doing, I know they're doing some screening. So I will make sure that we ask the question of if you all will have to get temperature checked. And if so, it's not going to be a big deal. I wouldn't imagine if you walk into a stadium and you have to get checked.
And just be prepared that every school may be different, and they may have you fill out a form, or they may have you download an app to contact trace, and that's perfectly fine. And tonight's pregame or presentation on contacting the schools early, the three of them really covered all that stuff. Especially in a year like this, you're going to want that information early in the week. So good job.
And then there's a question of Vicente about, could officials not assign games that day or week work the chains? I will have to ask. Nobody's actually asked that question. So I don't have an answer because it hasn't come up, but I will definitely get an answer for you on that. I'm writing it down. I can't write and talk at the same time.
So Brad, with everyone playing close teams, are they looking at playing games outside of normal game days? Yes, and I know that the varsity assignments will be coming out of our office. Dusty and Sally will actually be scheduling the games, so they will make sure that nights aren't overloaded. So that's kind of the nice thing about the assignments coming out of the office, is that if they see a heavy night, then they're going to spread those games out a little bit.
And it'll still be Thursday through Saturday for football, varsity. And then the other levels will be played on other days. Michael, can you email me about that? Because that's a little deeper than probably I know. So there's a question in the chat about signing a paper with a blanket statement saying that officials are symptom free, et cetera. If you can email me, Michael, I'll pass that on to Sally. Any other questions, comments, concerns? I'm not going to say complaints because everybody has those. I have them, but
and absolutely no what ifs.
That's right.
All right.
All right. Well, hearing nothing else, if you want to log off, you absolutely can. Nate and I will stick around for just a couple of minutes in case you've got something you need to ask us, but you don't want to ask around 140 people. And thanks again to our presenters for a job well done, and we'll keep you posted, and we'll see you at the district clinic next week.
Thanks everyone. Good night.
Good night, everybody. Have a good evening.
Good night.
Sleep tight.
Thank God. Now I will.
Good night, everybody.
Eliseo, how come you have Barry Sanders? You're not a Lions fan?
What do you mean I'm not a Lions fan? I taught Barry Sanders how to run. I'm his daddy. I'm his daddy. It's like I'm your daddy, Nate. Just call me Poppy. Just call me Poppy.
I didn't realize you're a Lions fan. Now I really have to take you to. Now I have to take you to lunch.
You were supposed to take me to lunch like 8 months ago.
Yeah, it's true. COVID.
So when you first found out I was a Lions fan.
Yeah.
If he owes you lunch, you let me know that kind of stuff. I'll make sure it happens.
Now I owe you 2 lunches.
2 lunches.
Hey, Dana.
Yes, Bert.
If schools choose to do the phase-in, which is Rio Rancho is going to do, they're still not eligible to start practice on the 22nd, correct?
That is my understanding.
So we're saying the seniors are going to go back on the 22nd. They're saying, I talked to a coach today saying, well, I'll put my seniors and they can start hitting. But my understanding is they cannot do that at all until everybody is back in school, correct?
My understanding, Bert, but that probably is a question above my pay grade.
Okay.
So if you want to email that to me, I can ask Sally about it.
Yeah,
Because that's what we're being told. That's what we're being told by our admin, that if a school does that, if they phase in, then there's still no way that they can start when the state says they could on the 22nd. So I just didn't know if you guys knew anything about it or not.
No, sir.
Hey, in the officiating department, we don't worry about that.
we just want some games to assign officials to.
You're just going to try to figure out where you're going to get enough officials when you have all three sports going at one time.
Nah, we'll be all right.
I'm making Nate work cross country, but you know what?
I want to see Dana on a softball field.
No, thank you. Too windy.
Ha!
If I end up on any field after I retire, it will be a football field. That's the only sport I want to work.
You don't want to work softball?
No, sir. Because it takes place in the season of wind. That is, it shouldn't even be called spring. It's wind.
Well, what do you think football takes place in?
That's not windy. That's just
wind.
Cold.
You haven't been out on the football field at a state championship in Taos, have you?
I have been in. I was actually at the one that had about 17 feet of snow at Clayton. That was fun.
Yeah, those are fun.
Burton, I was there for your championship game in Taos.
and what was the wind like?
It was miserable. Hey, Burton.
Hey, if I'm a sub-varsity football official, I don't have to worry about calling that deep into the year. I'll be done by October. I have no aspirations for greatness. I just want to, hang out.
I have a great deal.
Stay active in my retirement.
I have a great deal of respect for you softball officials. 3 years as a softball umpire, and it was enough for me to say never again. So I appreciate the fact that you guys can do that.
Well, to me, it was the one that got me to the college ranks. So I was very thankful for that. No flags in bad weather.
I mean, there's that. So thanks, Ty.
You better keep it close.
Hey.
All right. See you guys.
Bye,
We're going to Burton.
Bye-bye.
Anything else?
Hey, Nate, just so you know, I was at tonight's meeting.
You know what you need to do? I just realized why I kept missing yours, because you don't have senior on your registration. You have senior.
Oh.
And so when they don't match up, like when I go through I just need to if you could just put senior in like you would arbiter, that'll
on the Zoom meeting.
Yep, it'll bunch your name next to yours, because what happens is it skips a few spaces.
Oh,
so other Gomez's. Yep.
You can't log in as Poppy. It doesn't recognize you.
Yeah, come on, man.
Hey, Nate, is that what happened to me last week?
Stan?
Yeah.
I don't know. I probably just made a mistake. I'm an official. I blow calls every game.
No worries. I did the makeup too, so don't worry about it.
Oh, okay.
It's because you registered as LSAO. It was weird.
Yeah, I was looking for Poppy.
Yeah. You log on as me, you don't get credit. You got to go to 3 meetings to get 1 meeting credit.
Maybe if you log in as Barry Sanders. I don't know.
Then he'll recognize me.
Exactly.
Hey, although LSAO, do you know who my favorite Lions football player of all time is?
Probably Matt Stafford.
Matthew Stafford.
See, I know.
I like Sue, but Sue's over there. He's
winning Super Bowls.
Yeah.
So I'm a lifelong Dallas Cowboy fan, so everybody thinks my favorite running back is Emmitt Smith, or who I think is the best running back is Emmitt Smith. I think it's Barry Sanders, because Emmitt Smith did a lot with a really good offensive line and lead blocker. Barry Sanders never had either of those. All of his yards were on his own. He would have had like 25,000 yards if he ever had the line.
Running for his life all the time.
Running for his life. He retired too soon, but poor guy.
Well, there's the story that he retired so he wouldn't pass Walter Payton because he had so much respect for him.
Oh, wow. I thought it was because he had no offensive line. It was getting the crap beat out of him.
No, he had a very good offensive line. That's why he did what he did. That was the one thing that was good with Detroit.
I don't know. The Dallas offensive line of the 90s was incredible. Give that one.
But don't say that Barry never had an offensive line. He had a good one.
He didn't have the one that Dallas had.
He did. I don't know. I'm gonna have to disagree with you on that one, David. Just because, man, poor guy. He had he never had a quarterback, and never. I mean, Herman Moore is probably the best receiver that the Lions have ever had, and they never had a quarterback to get the ball to him, so they relied on Barry every play.
Well, I'll agree with that. He was a great running back, but he had a good offensive line. They created holes. He made a lot after. Created a lot after, but he had a good offensive line. They just didn't have anything else.
Okay, let me put it this way. If he would have had the Dallas offensive line for the 90s, he would have had 25,000 yards because that offensive line was better than Detroit's ever.
Yes. Well, yeah, duh. And they even had to have Barry Switzer coach.
I remember. Yeah, I have to watch Dallas's Super Bowl on VHS tapes. I know. No offense to Detroit, they don't even have VHS tapes.
And as long as Jerry Jones is there,
I know
it's gonna change.
Don't even get me started.
1957, they won a pro football championship before the Super Bowl days.
Nate wasn't even a twinkle in anybody's eye at that point.
They won 3 world championships in the 50s.
Yeah.
And LSAO wasn't born yet either.
No, close. I was a twinkle.
You told me you got one more.
All right.
All right, y'all. We've got a volleyball meeting to get on, so have a great night, everybody.
Deuces.
Thanks for the chit chat.